Hello there. I'm Aloe Baby, and today we are going to be talking about everything that I want to read in 2026. Now, to preface this list consists of only 7 books. Keep in mind, these are like my top priority in 2026. These are things that I'm going to be reading throughout the year, and 3 of these are really big books that I'm going to have to prioritize hard in order to finish them. I'll have to stick to a very tight schedule to finish each of them. Um, so, by no means is this pile like the only stuff I'm going to be reading this year. I'll be reading much more, but this is a very strict, concentrated list of the books that I want to have read by the end of 2026. So, with that being said, the first book on this list is one that I started reading in 2024. Yeah, in 2024, back when I read Crime and Punishment, which is crazy to think that December 2026, which is 12 months away, will be 2 years since I read Crime and Punishment. That's only relevant because I started reading Clash of Kings in that month too, and I put it off to the side because I dedicated that whole month of December to Crime and Punishment because I really wanted to give it all I had. So it's been on the back burner ever since then. So I want to read this in 2026. The goal is to read it in 4 months just to give myself more than enough time, ample time, maybe even more time than I really need to read this book, to read it comfortably, and to read it while reading other things, smaller works, short stories, novellas, Kindle Unlimited kind of stuff, all that good stuff. So, next on the list is holy cow, this book I started last year, 2025, around like July-ish, coming off of reading Salem's Lot and Needful Things back to back, which was really crazy, but I was really in a Stephen King mood. So we have Stephen King's The Stand, this big boy, which I am reading right now. Can you see that little red tab in there? Yeah, I am about 120 to 30-ish pages in. I'm liking it. It's Stephen King. It's voicey. It's colloquial. It's funny. There's suspense because we're still in the process of trying to figure out what the hell is going on. But yeah, this is The Stand. I do plan on reading this again in a 4-month period. This one like I mentioned before, I'm reading currently. So after I'm done with this, I'll probably move on to Clash of Kings. And if I don't move on to Clash of Kings, then we'll get to my other really big tome of the year because my agenda for 2026 is to read 3 tomes. So, and I think Clash of Kings and this definitely sit comfortably in the class of the tome, of the big boy, of the thick with 3 C's. You know what I mean? So that is The Stand by Stephen King. And I don't have this list in order of like how I want to or when I want to read them. It's just in whatever order. So next is a very short little thing, and that is The Flowers of Buffoonery by Osamu Dazai. I read No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai, and I tell you what, I have a video. I don't know if I took it down or unlisted it yet, but I did have a video up on my channel where I don't know if I want to say reviewing, but I was talking about No Longer Human, and that book, I mean, it was really potent. It made me feel things, you know. So I bought a bunch of Osamu Dazai books, and this is one of them. I want to read this one this year. It's very, very small, and I'll probably be reading it as I'm reading one of these big ones, probably as I'm reading The Stand. Shouldn't take me too long. It is only 100 pages. Yeah, it's not even 100 pages, so I should be able to get that done relatively soon. So next on this list is a book that I have had for a few years now, and I'm really getting into my nonfiction stride. and I think it's about time that I read this book, so I've got to read it this year. I have to read it this year. If I don't, I'll be pretty disappointed in myself. And that's going to be Hiroshima, um, by John Hersey. Um, I guess it is. Oh, this is not even nonfiction. This is fiction. Is it nonfiction? Hell. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, I want to read about Hiroshima. So, Hiroshima, everybody. I want to read this year. Next on the list, we're getting to look, I don't think there's, I'm going to be talking about this author a lot now and forever. I've gushed about him enough, and as soon as you hear his name, you'll be like, oh, okay, that guy again. Fyodor Dostoevsky, that is Poor Folk and Other Stories. I'm currently reading this. I believe I am reading The Landlady, and I want to finish this whole compilation before the end of the year, which I should be able to do. Again, this one is pretty thin. Uh, you know, shouldn't be too hard to finish. And I'll be reading it as I'm reading these three big books. So, shouldn't be too bad. Next, we're getting to the end of the list here with the last two. This book I was supposed to start reading like mid to late 2025, but I just never got to it. I just didn't have the enthusiasm to do it. And that is Middlemarch by George Eliot. I want to read this year. This is the last of my 3 tomes that I want to read this year. So I don't know when I might read this. I might read it after The Stand, might read it after Clash of Kings. I don't know who's to say, but I do know I'm going to read it in 4 months. So I'm going to, well, I guess I should probably say it like this. I'm going to read it in the span of 4 months. I'm going to give myself 4 months to read it. So there's that. And then last but certainly not least, this book I've been wanting to read for a few years now, I think. I've been wanting to read it for a few years. I can't pinpoint exactly when I first learned about this book, and when my interest was piqued, but that's going to be Madame Bovary by Gustave Flaubert. This one is another one that's not super big. It's not a tome, so it's not included in my tome reading shenanigans for this year, but I will be reading it as I am reading these big books. So, I mean, it might take me a few months to read, but I'll be reading it in tandem. So, it shouldn't be too hard, and I should be able to get it done. And with that, that's like the end of that list. I didn't want to pressure myself by setting my goal too high when I'm just kind of easing back into reading. I really wanted to take my time and really wanted to think of like, what books do I really, really, really want to read this year? And then before I close out, actually, this is not the end of this list. There's an honorable mention, and that is going to be Humiliated and Insulted by Fyodor Dostoevsky, which is going to be up here. Every year there's going to be some Dostoevsky in the rotation of everything I'm reading. That's just the way it is for me because I love him. And then who knows, maybe, God willing, 2027 will be the year that I read Demons and the Brothers K. And then also, depending on how I settle in with this list that I have, I may go ahead and reread The Idiot. So that's another honorable mention that it doesn't need to make the list because I've already read it. I just want to reread it. I just kind of familiarize myself with that before I move on to anything to the last two in the big 5. Demons and the Brothers K is probably far off in the distance just because I see them as like the pinnacle peak of like achievement in my mind in reading Dostoevsky. So I probably won't get to them anytime soon, probably not in the next year or so. My mind might change, who knows. But yeah, so I just wanted to come in and close out the video. So I hope you have a good day, I hope you have a good evening, and most importantly, I hope you read a good book, and I'll see you when I see you.